For the question and answer, so I would ask come closer to us so it's more informal and we can hear your questions, that would be appreciated. For those that posted questions on Slido, we appreciate it. There were some great questions. Just to recap, if anyone hasn't looked, one of the questions was, how are kids purchasing these products online? And so I will just kind of answer that real quick. What kids are doing is they're taking money, they're going to Kinney's, Big M, Price Chopper, local stores, they're purchasing Visa cards, and they're using the Visa cards to purchase online. And one of the things that we learned that hasn't been said yet, I don't believe, at our training that we went to is our biggest drug dealer is the internet. You can buy anything on the internet, from heroin to meth to cocaine to marijuana to vapes. And it's scary. And there's no age, there's no anything, and you don't know what you're getting. So I just want to emphasize the importance of watching what your kids are doing on the internet, looking for those Visa cards, and when you think they have cash, they're using it for purchasing Visa cards. It's pretty easy, and it's scary. One of the other questions that was posed was, could we have small group conversations to better educate ourselves on these matters? And we absolutely can. I think our counseling department will look at that and see if we can schedule some things maybe in the morning, after school, maybe even in the evening, so we can accommodate work schedules. At this point, we can open it up to you guys. If you have specific questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We'd be happy. We'll try to answer them the best we can. We're not scary. Don't be afraid.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment as a parent of 6 children. I don't think any of us have a perfect child. What I struggle with is that I see so many parents who will excuse a child rather than, like Alethea said, hold them accountable. In my opinion, that's child abuse. If you excuse, you abuse.
Thank you.
It goes in waves. We may go several months without any actual overdose calls or anything to do with drugs. But as far as being youth, I will say that 3 of the people that I have Narcan have been former students of mine, who they weren't students at the time, but they had graduated just a few years prior. What's scary is that a lot of times the people that we go pick up, and I mean, people are doing CPR on them, we give them the Narcan, we bring them back, and they're back out using again that night. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. The stuff that they're using is much more concentrated than it used to be, where we could give 1 dose of Narcan, now we're having to give 3 or 4. And then they're walking out of the hospital without, an AMA against medical advice, and the half-life of the drugs and the half-life of the Narcan, they don't know what it is, so they use and use and use until they get to a point where they feel at a comfortable high again, and then that Narcan wears off and they're at a lethal dose again. So I think that for us, as first responders, is most frightening. I will add that, like this morning, I get emails from the county all the time about different trends. Between the 1st of this month and the 3rd of this month, in Erie County, there were 7 overdose deaths. They didn't specifically say what the mix was, but it's a trend that's going to work its way across the state, and eventually it'll be Jefferson County with those statistics.
I had a student tell me that you could get anything you wanted
don't know if there's any more questions, but just a couple of comments that I have, and you guys are welcome to jump in anytime. I think we're dealing with a couple different things too. We have students who are using and open to help and looking for help and want help. And those kids are openly talking about what they need, how we can support them. And those are the cases that we can work with and that we appreciate and that we are here for. And then we have the kids who just, I guess I'll be blunt in saying they're very disrespectful, they're entitled, they're not doing anything wrong, and they just don't want to even be open to the idea of help or support. The other thing that's, I would say, for the faculty and staff that's tough in the building right now is we feel we're always on edge because the kids are always feeling like we're on top of them and watching over their back, and why are you looking at me, and why are you staring at me, why are you watching me go into the bathroom? But that's the culture we're living in. We have to supervise our kids because we care. And I don't know if you guys want to add to that, but I think the students are pretty upset with us right now as far as they don't want us involved. They don't want us watching them. They don't want us knowing their business. And, you know, just one example, recently we had a student bring in brownies to school, passing them out to other kids. And we were afraid that there was things in those brownies. And that's the world we're living in, where we're questioning where kids can't bring in things for other students now and can't, do something kind for somebody else. And that's scary to us. And unfortunate, really.
So we touched on it lightly that there's mental health issues as well that the students are dealing with. And there's a lot of statistics that show that the less parents are involved and the more time that students spend on social media is their outreach and is their way to connect with people, the more depressed and the more mental health issues they're going to have. We've made a lot of referrals this year to River Hospital, and they've been great about getting students for counseling outside of school, and they've grown with this problem. But this problem we've seen, countywide, that there's a huge concern for students and their mental health as a result of the lack of involvement and withdrawing and being more distant from people and relying on that with technology rather than human-to-human connections.
The other thing is we can talk a lot about what's going on in the building or what we're hearing and what we're seeing, but I would say the other scary part is when they're not with us, we have no control. And sometimes it's better to have them here than what they're doing when they leave here and on their way here. Ms. Valentine had mentioned a couple times she had kids in her room that were, staggering and not walking and under the influence, but that didn't necessarily have to happen in our building. That could happen on the way into the building. We see social media posts all the time. Just recently we had one that was brought to my attention where students were posting themselves tripping on acid and posting it on social media over the weekend. And at that point, what are we doing? Where are their parents? Why are they posting this stuff? Who are they with? Who's taking care of them? And it's horrifying because we don't know that next day if we're gonna get that phone call. So that's the state we're in. And again, we just hope that parents are aware enough to know what's going on the weekends and supervising their kids on the weekends and whose cars they're getting into and where they're going. Because we can only take care of them when they're in our care and when we know that they're safe. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that.
Well, just in piggybacking to that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the parents. You have the DeAnges who will take anybody in at any time and let them sleep on their couch. Like, you can reach out to somebody else's kid like they do and set a beautiful example. It's a community thing. Many of us would take them all home if we could. And the kids know it, and they know who to look for, but they don't always do it. They don't always have the courage to do it.
Is that
position right now where I don't care what you tell me, just tell me so I can help, and we can help this kid. We can support them and guide them and counsel them and treat them. It's not about, giving them in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension at this point, because that's not going to help them. They need to be here, they need to be with us so we can support them. I think we do a good job of being like a family here, and that's how we want to treat these problems. I'm sorry, Mrs. Holm.
As a parent, if on a video you saw one of my children, would you be inclined to protect their privacy, or would you inform parents if that were the case? Even if it weren't a school, it was a weekend party, but you saw it, would you reach out to me, or is there confidentiality issues there?
So that's a tough one. Confidentiality is always tough because, really I will say that our role is very different than Mrs. Helvey's role in a lot of these conversations, and she really has to follow under the guidelines of Pivot, but I think all of us still follow the rule: if you are in jeopardy or unsafe, we have to notify parents. And in my world, if a student is using and posting, they're unsafe, because I can't guarantee that somebody's going to take care of them or what they're doing. But calling parents is tough. It's not easy because, as you all know, sitting in this audience, you are parents, and it's hard to hear. And what's the first thing that happens? You become defensive. Not my kid, right? And we have to work through that together, and that's why I think we wanted to have this evening be so important to hear that we have to work together. It's not about your kids, doing this that makes them a bad kid. It's just they're making bad choices, and we have to work together to help them.
What is Mrs. Helvey's role opposed to your role
Yeah.
in with the children?
Thanks, Dad. My room's a little different because with Pivot, everything stays in my four walls unless the child's going to hurt themselves, hurt somebody else, is being abused at home, or commits a crime that I can't sleep at night because I like sleep. That's what I saw. So they come in my room and they can just spill. They can cry. They can tell me anything. They can tell me that they just smoked in the bathroom, and it's going to stay in my four walls. And I think that's a way in my room that I earn trust with the kids. And I can tell you my client list of kids is 56. I've had 56 different kids in my room since the start of the year, and about 135 visits. So I've had about 135 kids coming into my room to talk to me, probably about 70% of the time about drugs. That's a big percentage.
Can I add too that they refer other students to her, which I think is very encouraging. So some of the students will say, hey, you need to talk to my friend Mrs. Helvey, because I think you have something that you need to discuss with her, and that I think is wonderful.
It helps that I have chips and soda in there too.
I think that's a very good point. It is helping kids, and not just the honor student kids because of their grade 4 marks. So it's the kids that are in the trenches, along with other kids that are in need. If you can get them to reach out to other kids, they're more apt to go because that's their role. That's huge. You hear kids telling other kids to go and seek help. Yeah, it's honor, I want to make that clear. Honor students are using too. Oh.
Athletes are using too.
I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah,
I just meant their peers. Whoever their peers are.
The other thing we didn't touch upon that I think is important to say is attendance is huge. We've seen a huge decrease in attendance, and we're doing a lot to try to promote that to get kids to school. But it's interesting because when we see certain kids out, we look for their friends, because when they're home, they're not supervised and good things aren't happening, and we know that. So just be aware as parents in the audience that sometimes your kids want to stay home, push them to school, unless they have 103 fever and they have the flu, keep them home for a week. But other than that, please send them to us. It's better off that they're here.
Just going back to what Ms. Marcia said about the kids, they get annoyed with us when we're on their backs. I don't know how many kids I have went up to and I've asked what they're doing. I've asked questions that I don't know, maybe too many questions. And they say to me, stop, you're too much, you're being annoying. And I said, no, I'm not. And you're not going to get me to stop until you graduate and leave this building. So do that and come here. So that's what we do here.
One of the things that is, I have a hard time with is when kids will tell me, and this is mostly the junior high level, my parents are just glad that all I'm doing is vaping. Right? And the other thing I hear frequently is, well, my dad says it's okay, my mom says it's okay if I'm smoking pot, because at least I'm not doing the other things. And as you saw with the presentation Alicia gave us tonight, there is no safe vape, there is no safe pot. So I look to you guys, how do we educate our community? Because we have the vision, you guys have, but look how few people were here. So how do we do that? How do we get that information to those parents? And how do we combat that? When parents will sit right there and say this, somebody's doing vape, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with Juul. How many times have we heard that? Nothing wrong with Juul, that's a safe one.
Or when they say it's just flavoring, but the ones that say just flavoring, on the back you turn it over and it says may contain some nicotine.
Or when the parent wants to come pick it up at the end of the day for the child. When we've taken it.
Is there anything else from anybody? Well, we appreciate you guys coming. We do have some special people to thank. First off, I think it's important to give these guys a round of applause because they've been absolutely amazing. We've been in this fight probably for a long time, many years, but specifically this year. So I personally would like to thank our staff, our faculty, our students. It's been a tough road this year, and I couldn't do what I do without them, so I appreciate every one of them. I would also like to thank the Reformed Church for working with us and partnering with us and bringing the spaghetti dinner here, because that was a huge help for us, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Me personally, I'd like to thank my mom. She has always been there for me whenever I need her, and she's always been a great role model for me. Thanks, Mom. Oh, I'd be dead. She makes that.
No, but specifically, what would happen to you? If I
The
tell a
punishment at
police-
school,
if
the
someone
punishment
said
at
that
home
you
would
were
be much
smoking or
more.
vaping anything, what would happen to you? What would I do to you?
It's illegal.
We always say is the punishment at home is 10 times harsher than the punishment at school. And I know that, and I respect all of that, and I can't thank you enough for all the structure and guidance you've given me this year, and throughout my whole life.
I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to check out our community agencies tonight, but I would like to thank Pivot, Credo, River Wellness. I'd also like to thank Campus Impressions. Like Mrs. Wagner said, they've been amazing to us. We've built a great partnership, and you could probably see tonight why we absolutely love that they come work with our kids. So other than that, I want everyone to have a safe trip home. If you have any questions that you think about when you leave here, please don't hesitate to email any one of us. We'd be happy to answer them, and we'll start to get some small groups together. So thank you.